Oh, Mama's. She's not supposed to be jumping up on high things. I know you want to be around me, but... Alright, I gotta keep an eye on her. Okay, I remember this tasting a lot better. And for some reason, all I taste is cinnamon. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to eat today. That's all I kept thinking about while I was at work. I really thought about doing Popeyes, and I was like, not really in the mood. Ever since I've been on Chick-fil-A, I can't go back to Popeyes. I'm that person. Yo, I was so just... I hit a wall. I hit a wall today at work, figuratively. I was like, I'm just sick and tired of doing shit for other people. It's so mundane. Oh, I had a seasonal job. It was all good and fun. Until they done hired a new manager. I was like falling apart. This bitch did not know what she was doing. I liked her as a person from the outside looking in. She wasn't terrible. I'll just say they. But they didn't know how to schedule. They cut my hours. It wasn't just me, it was a lot of people. Or they gave people too many hours. It was all over the place. And before that, we technically didn't have a manager. We had a manager in training who should have been a manager because they were actually good. How are you a manager in training for so many months and they just never make you a manager? And the thing about it too is, when these managers were in a bad mood or stressed, not that they would take it out on you, but yeah, they would kind of take it out on you. Or it would be hard for all of us not to take it personally and be like, what did I do? Or, you know, we have to remember that it's not all about us, but it was consistent. Literally bipolar. You never knew what you were gonna get. 1 minute, it'd be fine. The next hour, it wouldn't. I'm like, damn, you know, it's not that serious. It really wasn't that serious, but they made it serious. I feel like if you're a manager, your job, it should be your job not to stress out your employees because you're stressed. What had me fucked up amongst a lot of things, my contract end date was technically January 2nd, but they told me they'd keep me until the end of January. Two different managers, the main manager and the manager in training, both told me that. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And since the schedule's 3 weeks ahead, I fucking get my schedule and they don't schedule me or really any of the other seasonals, you know? And I was like, okay, so what? They're gonna schedule me, they're not gonna have me schedule, and then the very, very last weekend they're gonna schedule me for 1 day? Because they would do some shit like that. So I was like, hey, you know what? I signed a contract for January 2nd. So this weekend, which was the last weekend of December, is going to be my last weekend. You guys don't have me scheduled anyway, so it doesn't really matter. They didn't fight it, they didn't argue it. But what irritates me, the one person, the one seasonal that they decided to give hours to, even if it was a day, 1 day for 4 hours, still, those hours went to the person who was barely ever there, called off often, would leave early and make up reasons, aka excuses, that they were sick or whatever. Basically, the person who did the bare minimum and got away with it and like didn't give a fuck stayed. Yeah, when I bust my ass and everybody else offer to stay late, offer to clean, obviously cleaning is a part of the job, but I'm thinking about a specific time where there was a lot of instances where they had me closing and I wasn't supposed to close, and I offered. I agreed to. I went above and beyond, basically. And that shit doesn't really... I don't know. For me, I think it was a matter of favoritism. Even though that person kind of sucked. I think the manager just liked that person the best. I can only speculate, but shit like that bothers me. And now I see why they have such high turnover. I would like to go back next season because it's fun. There's no guarantee for that. And who knows who the manager will be by then. And if it's her, them, I'm definitely not going back. Oh my god. The incompetence. I think the moral of the story is do the bare minimum at your job. Don't go above and beyond for motherfuckers. Don't give too much of yourself, especially if it's not a fucking job you see yourself in an actual career with. And I would never usually say that. You know, I have a very high work ethic. It's my strength and my downfall. Because you know what? It's never good enough. For me personally, from my perspective, and it could be wrong, when I myself try and not give a fuck and try to do the bare minimum, I feel like I get reprimanded, written up, talked to the 10th degree. Maybe it's just my perspective, but time and time and time again. Anyway, I'm all over the map because there's always a lot to talk about. Don't hold yourself to the ideal of what a job tells you, especially in corporate America. I have an example, and I'll talk about this in further detail another time. We have a lot to talk about. I busted my ass at this one job. I quit back in 2018, and I was there for 2 years, almost 3. And I had a goal. And I worked my ass towards that goal, and I eventually forgot about it. And I actually was very, very proud that I got basically like an Employee of the Year award type shit. And with that company, you got to go on this lavish, all-inclusive, 3-day trip. Still great. Never went. I never ended up going. At that point, I was just exhausted. Mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. I drained myself. And at that point, even though I was killing it, most of my team did not fuck with me because they were doing the bare minimum, and they hated that I was going above and beyond because I was raising the bar and everybody else, not intentionally. Eventually, after I got that award, I raised the bar on myself to the point where it was completely unmanageable. And the managers would try to reprimand me to say that that I wasn't doing my best or how I could do better. You know, even when I was killing it, it was always something to look for. You know, you always had something to work on. But after that, they slammed me with this crazy workload that no human being by themselves could keep up with. I had to have like extra help. And I was like, you know what? You're either gonna fire me because I'm not keeping up on this, or I gotta quit because I just made this shit impossible. And it was probably the best paying job that I ever had, but it wasn't worth it. And I was like, you know what? I fucking quit, and I'm not taking that trip. Because even though I got that trip, it wasn't until like months later that I could go, and I was like, no. And people thought I was so dumb for not going on the trip, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that stuff. They're not gonna bribe me with some shit and be like, oh, here, we gave you this, so now bust your ass for us. Again and again and again. It was robotic and exhausting. It was literally in the numbers. You would see every day, it was in auto claims, right? And I remember seeing my name, and I got 80 claims one day, while 5 or 6 other people got 20, 30, 40 max. And I asked my boss, I was like, well, how is that How is that logical? Oh, it's just random, it happens. Divide the workload evenly. No, you put the workload on the highest producing person, the highest number, but then you're just gonna keep slamming them, and it's fucking bullshit. It drains you and it's not worth the paycheck. Oh my god. Oh my god. So, anyway, the point is, if you're not gonna get in trouble, if you're not gonna get reprimanded like I feel that I have in my past for doing the bare minimum and not giving a fuck, just do what you can to skate on by. Don't try too hard. Don't do the most. I feel like the only place you should do that is within yourself and doing your own thing, whether that's eating better, working out, working on your own career for your self-employment, whether you're an entrepreneur. I really need to start taking my own advice. If you don't work for your own dream, you're going to be working for somebody else's. This is definitely like my vent sesh. So bye, Milo.